Hi, my name is Aya. You're watching Aya Reads, and I'm here to do a huge collective book haul. So basically, the thing is, if you've watched my last couple of videos, you know that I've been in a reading slump. Also, you might have noticed that I've been filming a little bit less. Technically, I also haven't been buying books. So the books I'm going to show you today are books that either I had ordered a while ago and they just came in, or, I don't even remember the last time I did a book haul, but basically these are the books that I've purchased from the last book haul until this one. And like I said, most of the recent ones are books that have been recently released, and all the other ones, it has been a while since I bought some books. So technically that is good for my wallet, although I have been spending my money on other things. But I have over 30 books to show you, so let's get started. Some of these I've read, some of them I haven't. Most of them I know what they're about, but some of them I don't, so I'll just let you know before I talk about a book what the deal is. Also, most of them are romances, a couple of them aren't. So I'm going to start with the romances first and finish with the books that are not romances. There's timestamps in the description, so you can skip around if you want to. The romances really are no particular order, except I will be talking about series together. So the first one is a fantasy romance, When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. So this one I actually started. I'm technically on page 98, but I was reading it during my reading slump. This is for sure not a good book to read during a reading slump because it's pretty dense. The world building is a little bit confusing. She doesn't spend a whole lot of time really explaining things. So yeah, that was just not the type of book I should be reading during my reading slump. So I cannot really tell you what it is about. But all I know is, like I said, it's a fantasy romance. There's dragons involved. It does have a pretty extensive glossary and stuff like that. And it has been very hyped. Like, this seems to be like the new fourth wing, or the fourth wing of 2024. So I am looking forward to reading this sometime, just not right now. Then I finally purchased Pucked by Helena Hunting. So this book is one of my favorite books I read this year. I read it on ebook during the beginning of the year. I read it for my most hyped books vlog. And like I said, it's one of my favorite books. I really, really loved it. So I really wanted the original cover. I think they are re-releasing them in new covers, like illustrated covers, which I understand why they would do that, because obviously that is a more popular type of cover than this one from 2015. I just really wanted this one. Basically, you follow Violet and Alex, and they have a one-night stand. Alex is Violet's stepbrother's teammate, and Alex becomes obsessed with Violet. She's really funny, and he really loves that about her. And he has a giant dick, and she's obsessed with that. And it's basically that romance. I loved both of them very much. I really loved Violet. I thought she was hilarious. But I fell in love with Alex. Alex was just the perfect book boyfriend, in my opinion. I really loved him. And yes, this is written in 2015. Some aspects you can definitely see that, but to me, this still holds up. It's a very good hockey romance, in my opinion. Then I got The Truth About Us by B. Celeste. I'm pretty sure that this is, first of all, it's a novella. So this is part of a series. And the reason I got this is because this was like €2 or something. It was very, very cheap. I do know this series is on my TBR. So I figured, since this is so cheap right now, let me just buy it. Then I already have it when I start reading this series. Basically, the series starts with The Truth About Heartbreak, and then the second book is The Truth About Tomorrow. Then I got The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. I actually bought this one for a vlog that I ended up scrapping because I'm gonna keep repeating myself, but I was in a reading slump while filming it and I just never got around to it. This is the second book in her football romance series, and you follow Nora and Derek, and they used to date until she broke it off. But now he's a famous NFL player and she is a sports agent, and she gets assigned to his case. And he at first really doesn't want to, but then he agrees. And obviously feelings ensue again. I've heard great things about Sarah Adams, although I do know that most of her books are closed door, which I don't really prefer those. But I have heard that this has one open door scene, and in fact, it's chapter 34, because she does mention that at the beginning. So I do think that I might like this one. Yeah, and I have a feeling this is gonna show up in the Goodreads Choice Awards for the romance category, so I'm probably gonna be reading it this year, just not right now. Then I obviously got Wild Love. So if you've watched my new releases vlog where I read this one, you saw that this one came in the mail. So I obviously read this one. If you want to know my full thoughts, check out that one new releases vlog that I did. Basically, this is a spin-off from Elsie Silver's Chestnut Spring series. This book you follow Willa's brother Ford, and he has had this major crush on his best friend's sister Rosie. So they both kind of left this town. He used to come there during the summer. She used to live there. She left for the big city. Now she's back. She doesn't have a job anymore and she doesn't really have a place to stay. So she asks him if she can work for him. And he is planning on making this recording studio in Rose Hill, and he agrees because he cannot say no to her, and it's their romance, and I really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I really love Elsie Silver. She's one of my favorite authors, and this book definitely did not disappoint. In fact, I cannot wait for the sequel, which I believe either comes out in September or October. I really hope to be out of my reading slump by the time that book comes out. Then I actually got a box set of the Briar U series by L. Kennedy. They recovered these. I already own the Off-Campus series in this edition, and when I saw that they did a box set and it was cheaper, I decided to buy it. I'm still on book 3 of the Off-Campus series, but my plan is to obviously read this series after I finish the Off-Campus series. These are all college hockey romances, so I cannot really tell you what they're about. So I'm just gonna tell you the titles. So The Chase, The Risk, The Play, and The Dare. I do have to say, I have heard way more positive things about the Off-Campus series than the Briar U series. I do know a lot of people have read them. I just know that none of these books are really a lot of people's favorites, but I do love Elle Kennedy's writing style, so I cannot wait to read these. I do think that she does hockey romances or college romances very well, so cannot wait. The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. First of all, this might be one of the ugliest covers ever. I really don't like this cover, and the only reason I bought it was because, once again, I wanted to read it in the same vlog that I wanted to read the rule book in, but I just never got around to it. This does have a very interesting premise. It's about this guy and this girl who used to be, so they are technically married because they wanted an apartment with an affordable apartment, and the only way they could get that is if they were married. So they decided to get married way back when. They just never got a divorce, and the guy has a very rich family. His family owns, it sounds like it is like the Walmart family, like a very big chain of supermarkets, and he doesn't really have a good relationship with his family, but he does want the $100 million he's set to inherit. However, he can only have it if he's married. So he wants her to come with him to his family's place so that he can show them that they're married, but she is everything that his family is not. So it does sound very interesting. I have heard great things about it. I haven't read a whole lot of Christina Lauren books, but I think, once again, this one has a high chance of showing up in the Goodreads Choice Award. So even though I couldn't read it for that vlog I wanted to do, I know that I'll probably read it this year anyway. Play Along by Liz Stomford, and I am so very sorry to say that I have not read this one yet. So this is the 4th book in her Windy City series, which is one of my favorite series. In fact, The Right Move plus Caught Up, the 2nd and 3rd book, made an appearance in my top 15 books of 2023. So I already know that I'm gonna love it, but I just didn't start it because I didn't want my reading slump to really ruin this book. So this book, you follow the brother of the hero from the 3rd book, Isaiah, and he's a baseball player, and his romance with Kennedy was very much set up in the 3rd book. This is an accidentally getting married in Vegas story, and he's an athlete and she is part of the staff for the Windy City Warriors baseball team. Actually, I do have to say I did read the 1st chapter, or at least the epilogue, and obviously I like it because I really like Liz's writing style. So hopefully, I know for sure that once I do finally get out of my reading slump, this will be one of the first books I read, so I cannot wait. Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, a book that I have read. Once again, I did vlog it, so I'll leave that linked for you. This is her newest release. It is another STEM romance, but this one she calls a more erotic romance than her previous romances. You follow Rue and Eli, and they met through this hookup app, and the plan was for them to hook up, but then things got in the way, so they didn't. And then the next day, they meet each other again at her work, and she finds out that he is one of the people that wants to take over her company. So basically he's the enemy, but they cannot resist each other. So eventually they start off this co-workers with benefits relationship. Basically that's the premise. I have to say I didn't really love it at all, in fact. Check out my reading vlog if you want to know why, but it is floppy, which does make me very happy. Then I got the first and third book in the Not Come Out series. So I read the second book, Things We Hide from the Light, for the Goodreads Choice Awards of 2023. And I've been meaning to finish this series, but I hadn't read the first book yet. So obviously I needed to get this one. And then obviously the third book came out after Things We Hide from the Light. I did really enjoy Things We Hide from the Light, and I have heard amazing things about especially this one. So even though the second book did spoil the first book a little bit, I cannot wait to read it. So this book you follow Naomi and Knox. And this book you follow Lucian and Sloane. And Lucian and Sloane have been teased, I think from the first book, but for sure in the second book. But I do have to say these books are very, very long. So I don't know when I'll have time for them, but the goal is to finish as many series as possible. So this technically, it's only 2 books, even though they're very long. Then I got This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. This is her newest release. I have read this one. Once again, I had read it and the goal was to read it with The Paradise Problem and the Rule Book. And this is, I think, the only one that I actually did finish, but obviously I didn't vlog it. This, you follow Lucy and Felix. And Felix is Lucy's best friend's little brother. But her friend told Lucy that she has a couple rules for her, one of them being that she's not allowed to fall in love with her brother. One day Lucy goes to Prince Edward Island where her friend grew up. The plan was for them to spend the summer there, but her friend shows up a day later. And on that day, Lucy meets this handsome guy that she has a fantastic night with. The next day, she realizes that it's actually her friend's brother. And this book is told present day, where her friend goes back to Prince Edward Island a week before her wedding, and Lucy's trying to figure out what is going on. And also flashbacks of the 5 years she has spent with Felix. Like I said, I have read this one. Once again, not my favorite, but I don't think Carly Fortune is the author for me. But since she keeps showing up in these Goodreads lists, and I am determined to read all of the books on those lists, I keep reading her, I guess. I also got The Hookup by Kristen Callahan. Another one of those series that is getting reprinted with illustrated covers. And to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the new illustrated covers. So I managed to snag this one. The plan was to buy all the original covers, but I was too late with the other ones. So I guess I only have The Hookup. Basically, this is a baseball romance. And this is a American football romance. So this starts off with a hookup, and then it's him that is pursuing her. It does remind me of Pucked in that way. I've been hearing so many good things about this series for such a long time. So yeah, hopefully I can read it very soon. Powerful by Lauren Roberts. So this is the 1.5 novella in the Powerless trilogy. First one obviously being Powerless. This one I got because it was very cheap. I have not read Powerless yet, nor do I own it. So I just got it because it was cheap. And Powerless is a book that I have been meaning to read. So I figured then once I read Powerless, I'll have the novella after it. Basically, Powerless is a fantasy romance in a world where being powerless is very dangerous. And our main character is powerless. And then I believe she has this thing with somebody related to the royal family. Like I said, it has been very popular. There's a high chance that I will read it. So then in that case, I have the novella waiting for me. Madam by Sarah Kate. This is the 6th book in the Salacious Players Club. So basically I've been buying these books when they are on sale. So I think I only own Give Me More in paperback and now this one. I have read Praise. I just don't really like the paperback of Praise. So basically the Salacious Players Club is this series following different couples related to the Salacious Players Club, which is this sex club. The first book you start off is an ex-boyfriend's dad romance. It's basically the introduction to this club. And this, I believe, is a FFM, I think. So basically you follow Eden, who is a professional dom. She has had this thing with this man who's a submissive, and then they part ways, and then she meets him again. Now he has a girlfriend, and then all 3 of them end up in a relationship. I haven't read a whole lot of FFM romances. I am interested in them. But obviously I still need to read the other 4 before getting to this one, so I really should make a move on that. Yeah, so I liked Praise. It was just not really my favorite book. I do think other books in this series will be. So very excited about continuing on with this series. Then I got the 1st and 4th one in the Kings of Sin series by Anna Huang. Yeah, I read this series kind of out of order. I started with the 2nd book, then I read the 3rd book, the 4th book, and then I read the 1st one. So this actually all follows different billionaire romances related to a different deadly sin. So the first one is King of Wrath, and you follow Dante and Vivian's father blackmails Dante into marrying her. So they are engaged for a year, and his plan is to find a way to turn the tables on her dad and find something on him and basically ruin him. But instead, he ends up falling in love with Vivian. I really love this book. It is my favorite in the Kings of Sin series, and it's one of my favorite Anna Huang books. I really loved it. If you want to know more of my in-depth thoughts, I read this book for my finishing series vlog. And then obviously King of Sloth is the newest book in this series, and this you follow Xavier and Sloane, and Sloane is a PR agent and Xavier is her most difficult client. He's a trust fund baby. It's that romance. I read this for one of my new releases vlogs. This was not my favorite. The Kings of Sin series, it wasn't a bad book. It was I gave this book 4 stars, which is actually my first Anna Huang that I gave 4 stars. I thought this was just a little bit too long for the things, like for the kind of romance we got. In fact, I have to say I don't really remember this romance a whole lot. So, especially comparing it to the book that came before, King of Greed, which I've read before this one, I remember way more about that book than this one. Then I got the 4th and 5th book in the Legacy of the Gods series. The only one I'm missing actually is the 6th book, but it's currently 26 euros and the price hasn't dropped, and I'm just patiently waiting for it to drop because soon they're getting rid of these original men covers. So you can read this out of order, but I wouldn't suggest you do so. So I would say read them in order. So the 4th book, God of Ruin, is about Landon, and Landon has been wreaking havoc in the other books. He's a psychopath, like a lot of heroes in this story, and he has just been ruining the other characters' lives. And now he falls in love with a speechless girl who's actually the sister of one of his rivals' competing club in the competing school. So yeah, this is about rich kids in the US and the UK. This does take place in the UK, and I really love this series. I talk about both of them in my Legacy of the Gods vlog. The 5th book is my favorite in this series. It's an MM romance between Brandon, who is Landon's twin brother, and Nikolai. Brandon is this posh, put-together dude, and Brandon is this wild child. He is part of the mafia in the US, and he is just the opposite of posh and buttoned up. Brandon always thought that he was straight. Nikolai always knew that he was bi, and it's basically Nikolai pushing Brandon's buttons and their romance, and I really loved it. Loved it so much. In fact, I really love this series, but this is definitely a standout in my opinion. And then the last couple books in the romance department are the 3rd, 4th, and 5th book in the Boys of Tommen series by Chloe Walsh, Saving and Redeeming 6, and Taming 7. So these are the US editions, which I prefer these 100% over the UK ones, especially. I do actually like the Saving 6 covers, but especially the first 2, Binding 13 and Keeping 13, I just really didn't like those covers, and I really love the floppiness of the US covers. Basically, these 2, you follow Joey Lynch and Aoife, and Joey we've read about obviously in Binding and Keeping 13, and he just broke my heart. So I haven't read these yet because I've been kind of avoiding them because I know this series will break my heart. In fact, I know these 2 will break my heart because Binding 13 already broke me, and I know this one for sure is going to be sadder for me. Joey deals with a lot. He has an abusive father. His mother is just really not there for them. He is forced basically to take care of his siblings, and he's also dealing a lot with using drugs. So he's a drug addict. It's just heartbreaking. I already know. And I have not even read his books yet. So like I said, I've been kind of avoiding that, but I do want to continue on. And then the 7th or the 5th book is Taming 7. It's about Gibbsy and Claire Bear. Or Gibbsy and Claire. Yeah, this I recently just came out. So yeah, I've also been very much looking forward to their story. So yeah, the Boys of Toman series. Now for the not romances, it's not a lot. So the first book is actually The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This one was one of a lot of people's favorite books they read last year. It was very popular last year. I just hadn't read it. So basically this reminds me a bit of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Basically, this very famous author is holding this competition to win his newest book, and it's the one and only copy, and obviously selling that will make you a fortune. And you follow Lucy Hart, who's a teacher's aide. One of her bright young students is 7-year-old orphan Christopher Lamb, and she would do anything to adopt him, but she doesn't really have the money to. So this competition will be her way to get some money and adopt him. It sounds very heartwarming. Like I said, I have heard beautiful things about this book. It's not too long. Yeah, I really hope to get around to it soon. Then I got The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, and this is, I believe, the Illumicrate version. I know a lot of people really love the original cover, and I don't know what it is about that book. I just really don't like the cover. It's not pretty to me at all. And when I saw that they did this edition, I just immediately grabbed it. Leigh Bardugo is one of my favorite authors. I really love her books. To be honest, I don't really know what people think about this one, although I do have to say I haven't heard raving reviews about it, but I also haven't heard terrible reviews, so I don't know. Yeah, this basically is about this Jewish girl who lives in 16th century Spain, I'm pretty sure, and she has powers and she gets embroiled in the highest echelons of society where they're using her, but she also kind of, I think, is using them too for freedom, I guess. Like I said, I have not read it, obviously. Don't know yet what people think of it. So yeah, but I do know, like I said, I love Leigh Bardugo. Then I got The Reappearance of Rachel Price, and I got this edition that looks like a cassette tape. This is Holly Jackson's newest release. So she's known for writing the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. This is similar in that this is a true crime documentary. It's about this girl whose mother disappeared, and now she's making a documentary about that. But maybe her mother is reappearing in some way. So it sounds good. I think I definitely want to read this and then listen to the audiobook as well. I think that will be the most immersive experience. Once again, I haven't heard one way or another what people think about this book. Whereas with Five Survive, which is the book that came out before this one, I did hear not so good reviews about it. So I also don't really know what people think about this one. Last but not least, I got the box set for The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So I've been hearing so many good things about The Naturals. People describe it as like a young adult CSI. And I used to really love NCIS when I was younger, so I did really like those. So I am interested to read this one. I just have a feeling I'm gonna fly through them. So basically this follows these kids that have skills and the FBI is interested in them to solve murders. So the first one is The Naturals. The second one is Killer Instinct. The third book is All In. And the fourth book is Bad Blood. So this was my book haul. These were all the books that I purchased since the last time I did a book haul. Definitely let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts were. I'm especially interested to hear your thoughts about these two. So if you've read The Reappearance of Rachel Price or The Familiar, I would really love to know your opinions. Good or bad, doesn't really matter. Leave all your thoughts in the comments below, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know by leaving a like if you did, and thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.